Alright guys, so a lot going on here with this wagon, but I ended up sick. So I know the last video I was not feeling that great and still came to work and was working, but no, it finally got me, and I don't know what it was, but I was down. I still can't talk real good and stuff, but it's about 3 weeks. I didn't miss 3 weeks of work, obviously, but I missed, I think, 3 days of work, and then I tried to come in. I wasn't getting much done. I was trying though. So I couldn't hardly talk to do videos or nothing. So the last week or so, I just been working on the car without any video. Just now starting to be able to talk and get my voice back and stuff. But anyway, I've got a lot of work done. You know, like I said, it's been a week or two I've been working on this without any video, and I've been fighting a lot of different fitting issues with the fuel system and stuff. We're doing all AN lines, braided AN lines with PTFE inner liner in it. So, you know, with this new fuel, it likes to eat rubber lines, so try not to do any rubber on this thing. And you know, it's all cheap stuff, you know. Hopefully it doesn't leak when we pressurize the system, but we're gonna find out. But it might spray fuel everywhere, and then I have to go buy a good line set for it. But if I have to, I will, but I'm not going to unless I have to. So, but that's what we got. I did dual fuel pumps on it. We got that all kind of plumbed in. I'm waiting for one fitting for my fuel pump that should be here today. We should have complete fuel system done. So now I'm plumbing up everything for blow-off valves, plumbing up everything for my, shoot, I'll think of it here in a second. These. Man, my brain's just not working right yet. So, waste gates, that's what they are. They're called waste gates. Yeah. You know, I've said wastegate a billion times in the last month and a half, so you think I'd remember that, right? But no, the way things are going for me right now, I'm just not feeling well, and my brain is just not back up to snuff yet. So I'm getting there. You know, I'm getting stuff done. It's taking me a lot longer because, man, whatever had a hold of me was pretty rough, So anyway, you know, we have all this stuff. We're plumbing it in. I've made tools to check my waste gates, where they're actually starting to release at and stuff like that. I wanted to make sure, and honestly, I'm glad I did, because the way the waste gate was set up, I mean, it wasn't really released until about 19 psi. And that's way too much. I don't want no more than 9 pounds on this car. We'll probably run 9 pounds of boost on this car. So luckily I set up, you know, a little tool that, you know, I put a regulator and stuff on it, put air pressure to it, and it worked out well. You know, it let me dial those things in real close, and now we can put our boost controller and stuff on it to help it, to get it, you know, fine tune it where we want it as we're driving the car. But that's where we're at. You know, it's, as you can see, we've got everything down in here. And you know, this is a big old car, and it had a lot of room under the hood, but man, we filled that thing up quick. You know, by the time you put all this garbage in there, and it filled it up. I don't have the radiator in yet because I'm still working on it. I still got a power steering pulley that I got to put on. The power steering pulley that I had was bent, so I ordered a new one. I now have it, so I can put it all on. But I haven't done any of this because I've been working on vacuum lines up under the intake and stuff. So I have not wanted to put all the radiator stuff in yet until I'm done with that. Plus I got some wiring to do. We got to do the wiring on a starter, you know, and all the wiring for the car. All this mess has to be cut out and cleaned up and determine what I need and what I don't need and all that good stuff. But you know, here's our last fuel filter. This is a 10 micron filter. I put a 100 micron filter back before we get to the pump. We did 100 micron, and then I go into the dual pumps, and then I come up here and go through the regulator, and then after the regulator, right before we run to the injectors, we did a 10 micron filter. So that'll keep them injectors nice and clean if anything gets through. So, but it's coming out good. And then I run 8 AN line all the way up from the tank, 10 AN from the tank to the pumps, and then I went to 8 AN all the way up to here into the filters, 8 AN out of here, and then I went dual 6 AN. And you know, whether it's right or wrong, I decided to run 2 6 ANs into each side of the rail. You know, the rail has a crossover tube that went across here, but to me, 1 6 AN in this side with a crossover tube, I'm not convinced there was enough fuel flow. You know, we start building a bunch of boosts, you know, who knows if the far side of the fuel rail will drop fuel pressure. I don't want to take that chance. So I did just dual 6s into there, so it should feed it really well. It's a return system. You know, there's a fuel pressure regulator. It's kind of hard to see, but there's our 8 AN in, or into it here, out of it here. But right down here we have a 6 AN that returns to tank. So it'll build fuel pressure, it'll return whatever it doesn't want. So so that's where we're at. I mean, I kind of wanted to give you guys a heads up. Like I said, I haven't done any videos hardly at all in the last 2 weeks, and I've been working really slow. But I'm feeling better, so everything's starting to move along again. But I figure I better give you guys a heads up. And we ended up having to, since these turbo pipes, the cold side pipes were come out here where the battery tray was at, I had to go order this battery. And this is a very small battery, but the cold cranking amps are up pretty high. And you know, this is stock compression engine, so it doesn't take a lot to crank it. But that is it's a lithium battery, so it weighs nothing. It's super light. It probably weighs 5 pounds. It doesn't hardly weigh anything, and it makes good power, and it's very small. So it was able to fit in there. That worked out really good. I don't know. I'm just finishing up little stuff now. Getting ready to probably by tomorrow. I'm finishing up some of this plumbing and stuff. Probably by tomorrow, we're going to start wiring fuel pumps, putting relays in for fuel pumps. We're going to start doing the Terminator system. I got the Terminator X for it. So we're going to start wiring that all up, which, you know, nothing exciting there. But, you know, this whole car to me, just, I don't know. I need to do it, you know, we need to get it done, but it's not exciting. Like, I want to get back on the Model A. That's the stuff I love to do. I feel like, you know, just designing something from scratch is what I like to do. I mean, I get it. I've got a lot of work in, you know, all the tubes and the plumbing and stuff on this thing, but I don't know. It's just not as exciting, but I need this car for Hot Rod Power Tour and to just go on long trips and stuff. And honestly, I probably shouldn't have done turbos on it. I should have just threw a 6.0 LS in the thing and I'd have been done like a month ago. But the turbos added a whole lot more, I don't know, more plumbing to do on it. Just a lot more everything. A lot more on the fuel system. You know, I had to take my fuel tank and cut the whole front of the fuel tank out, a big square, and then plate that and get it all welded back in because we needed enough room to get our AN fittings in there. You know, we had 10 ANs and 6 AN fittings going into that tank, and there was no room to put them. So we had to do all that. That's just, you know, if I'd have just ran something non-turbo, we could have ran right off the stock fuel line and it would have been fine. But, you know, it'll be a lot cooler with turbos. So, I don't know. I'm getting kind of burnt out on this thing. I'm needing it done. I want to get it out of here and get back on something that I enjoy a little more. But it's going to be a really cool car when it's done. That's the only thing that keeps me going, is it's going to be the ultimate sleeper, and that's what I want. You know, we don't want nobody to know that we got all this going on under the hood. You know, you got a car that looks like this, and you know, and we have, you know, it's got 20-inch steelies on it right now, and I actually think I'm taking those off. I don't know. I'm thinking about going back with the wheel that was on it, which is like a 90s style, like Billet Specialties wheels or something like that. And it just looks old and slow, and that's kind of the look I want for this car. You know, I want it to look old and slow, and then you can surprise them when it's not. But yeah, that's where we're at. You know, it's I wish I'd have more video of me going through all this, but it just wasn't happening. You know, I did not feel good. I didn't even want to be here, but I forced myself to come, and it won't give up. Whatever's going on, it's still got me in a slump. So I don't know, could have been COVID or whatever, I don't know. It's like I said, it's been 3 weeks now and it's still got me. Like, not as bad as it was. You know, the first week wasn't horrible. The second week was just ridiculous. Like, couldn't even get off the couch. So bad time. So anyway, that's where we're at. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, and man, we're gonna keep trucking on this thing. I want to get this thing done. As you can see, I've got the doors open on the shop, so that means it's warm outside. And when it gets warm outside, that means it's car show time. Like, we need to be at shows. We need to be cruising these things. So I feel like I'm dropping the ball here. Like, I've been working all winter hard, and it's just not. It's not been as productive as I want it to be. Never is. You know, I put myself on these tight schedules, and I want to get these cars done in, you know, 3 months. And Jesus, it's almost impossible to build something like, you know, something like old Johnny Ringo in 3 months. It's not going to happen. If you just wanted to slap that car together, absolutely. You know, I built my last truck in, I think, 3.5 months, but it wasn't as technical as this car. There's a lot of stuff in that car. So we'll give you a little walk around just in case you haven't watched the videos of Johnny Ringo. This is where we're at on it, you know. And it's been like this for, like, I have not touched this car in a month, and it's kind of driving me crazy, because this is going to be a bad car when it's done. You know, we just got a mock-up motor sitting there now. It's not the motor that's going in it. But you know, it's going to be a wild one. It's going to be something not ever seen anywhere else. So, but I don't know. I'm getting back on that thing soon, and I got a couple other projects in the works that I think I'm going to start on next. And I got that 34 Ford pickup that we've got to get together. That needs to be sold. I've got another guy that says he wants it, so we're going to try to get it together, and somebody will buy it. I mean, I got to build it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But as long as people keep coming in here and thinking they want it when it's done, and when it's actually done, then maybe somebody will snag it up, and I won't even have to post it for sale. So, but anyway, that's where we're headed. Just a heads up, I'm probably gonna not do still a whole lot of videos, but you know, we're down to the little dumb stuff, and nobody wants to watch that. I mean, I don't want to watch it. I don't even want to video it. Heck, I don't even want to do it. I hate doing the little stuff. So, but that's where we're at. So maybe next video will be just about ready to fire this thing or test fuel systems or something like that. But I figure next couple days, I want this engine running. It's Tuesday, and I would love to have this engine fired by the end of this week. That's my goal. So that's kind of what I'm shooting for, and we're gonna see if we can make it happen. But all right, guys, I'm out. I'm gonna get back to work and try to get something accomplished. Alright guys, so we are finally on the move with this wagon. I got it to fire off, had it running, but I've had fits getting there. It's one thing after another with this wagon, it seems like. Man, where do I even start? So on this Holley Terminator system, it's a Terminator X Max. So controls, transmission, we're doing a 4L60E in it, which probably is not enough transmission. We all know this. You know, I'm a transmission guy. I know it's not enough transmission, but I had it. And I will probably end up switching it to a 4L80 later, probably when I burn this one up. But anyway, so this Holley Terminator's, it's a great setup. I mean, it works. You know, it's pretty simple. I'm not up on this stuff. Like I've said before, this is kind of the first time that I've done this. You know, I've never turboed anything, to be honest. So it's new to me. So what I had going on here is what you have to watch on the Terminator is, you know, there's a lot of wires that just go straight to power, direct power all the time, battery power. Then there's some that go to ignition switch. And, you know, what I ran into was, and it even said on there to make sure when you crank the engine, you know, you don't lose power on that ignition power. And I hooked it into one that lost power when I cranked. And it was the ignition coil. You know, I thought, I didn't check it because I assumed that it was the original wire for the coil. You know, so it has to be powered all the time, you would think. Well, it wasn't. Here what it was is there's two wires on this car that go into the power on the ignition coil. And what it was I cut those wires in half and used the one that had 12 volt on it with the key on, thinking that was right. Well, the two wires that come in, it was crazy because the one wire comes in when the ignition is on, it is, you know, it's 12 volt. And when the ignition is in crank position, that 12 volt went away. But the other wire made 12 volts when you was in crank position. I don't know, maybe old car guys know this, I didn't. So that's the reason they had two wires going to the power on the coil, is one was powered in crank position, one was powered in just key on position. So what I was running into when I first tried to start this thing is I couldn't get the fire off at all. And I started looking, and here my handheld, as soon as I would hit the start position and the motor would crank, my handheld would go black. So I knew I was losing power to my handheld. So anyway, went out, you know, cut the harness back apart because I had it all taped up real nice and wrapped up. Cut it back apart, found that other wire, and then I realized then by testing what it was doing. So hooked that other wire in, now we're fine, we're good. So I go to fire this thing up, it fires, it stalls. It fires, it stalls. So I look at the map sensor, the KPA on the map sensor, and it was reading 15 with engine off, key off. And that's not right. It should be somewhere right around 100, 90s to 100, whatever. And I ordered the correct map sensor that the Terminator system wanted. It was a GM, original OEM equipment, AC Delco. But I ordered the number that I ordered, but they sent me a different number. And I don't know what that was. I don't know how many bar map sensor it was. I'm guessing it was like maybe a 1 bar or something. But it wasn't right. So I kind of stuck, and I really want to start this thing. So basically in the Terminator system, you have to tell it if you run turbos or not run turbos and all this stuff and the basic setup. And well, when I say I'm running turbos, it won't let me choose a 1 bar sensor. And the only thing I had here extra other than the one I ordered was a bone stock truck 1 bar sensor. So I lied to the system and told it I didn't have turbos on it just because I wanted to get this thing fired up. And I put my 1 bar sensor on it. I lied to the system, just, you know, set the timing low. I'm not gonna run it, I'm not driving it down the road, I just wanted to fire it up. I don't even have a radiator in the thing yet. So it's just a straight fire it and just, you know, let it run, make sure everything sounds good, make sure we don't have a bunch of leaks or anything, you know, oil, transmission, anything like that. So, you know, kind of just wanted to hear the thing. And so finally I did that, and I just did that this morning. And it's run really rich right now, but it fires off, it sounds good. Everything's nice and quiet, except for the turbos. They're not that quiet when you rev it a little bit. But we're gonna fire this thing up for you and kind of show you what we got. Let me get this stand set up. So pretty excited about this thing. You know, I have a new map sensor coming. It actually is. It might be walking in the door here shortly, but it's on the way. So I can't wait to get that in there. We can do some proper tuning on it, get it set up for the turbos. But here's what we got.
It's running rich, but you know, you can hear it. This thing sounds amazing.
Alright, so I don't want to run it long. Like I said, I don't have a radiator or anything in it. We got to mess with some tuning. Obviously, it's running rich. I mean, it's, you know, it's blowing smoke out, so just raw fuel. But anyway, it's, you know, sounds good. The cam sounds amazing. It's got that Chopacabra cam in it, Texas Speed, and wow. That thing chops. It hits hard. So hopefully my map sensor will be here today, and we're gonna get that put in, see if we can't fine tune this thing more, see if we can't get it, like I said, it's running really rich right now. So get the map sensor in there, get that stuff all right. I think we'll be fine. But yeah, right now we are, I don't know. We just got a little short piece of header coming off there. You know, I mean, the exhaust just goes down underneath the car, and it literally stops, you know, right about the front door of the car. So it's wide open. That's why it's so loud right now. We're gonna quiet this thing down. You know, we're gonna try to keep the horsepower hidden in this thing. But honestly, as soon as I give this thing a little bit of throttle, all you hear is turbos whistling. So I don't know how well we're gonna be able to hide this. Maybe not as good as I thought. I didn't realize how loud the turbos were going to be with twins on it. So they're pretty noisy. So once we put quiet exhaust on there, you're probably really going to hear them. My guess is you're going to even hear them at idle. But because I know if I give it a little bit of throttle, they really start whistling. So, but you know, we're going to, it is what it is. You know, if I can't keep it quiet to where we can hide it, then I guess everybody at the car show will know what's under the hood of this thing. But the guy cruising down the highway won't know until it's too late. And then he will, but so I'm sure we'll get some video of that kind of stuff going on, you know. I mean, you know, nothing illegal, just playing. But there she is, man. We are just about there. You know, there's going to be a lot of little dumb stuff that I still need to finish off. You know, I'm waiting for my power steering lines right now. I had them ordered. They were supposed to be here 4 days ago, and I'm still waiting for them. They got shipped somewhere. You know, my local post office had them, and then my local post office shipped them 3 hours away. I don't know why. And now they've been sitting at that place 3 hours away for the last 3 days. I don't know what happened there. I don't try to understand it because it's crazy. So I ordered new power steering lines today for it because I don't know if those ones are coming, and I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get here. And I need to put the front of this engine together, so I need my power steering lines before I can put the front of the engine together. They're holding me up. So I ordered a complete new kit, and it's a builder kit. You know, they're stainless PTFE lines, stainless braided. But I just ordered a new kit because right now they say I can get the kit tomorrow, and probably tomorrow is faster than I'll get the other ones as of this point. So that's where we're at. I was pretty excited to get this thing fired this morning. You know, I was pretty bummed yesterday when I realized the map sensor that I was sent was the wrong map sensor, and I couldn't start the car, couldn't get to run, you know. And then I got the bright idea last night sitting at home. I was like, man, I'll just put a stock 5.3 truck map sensor in it, And we'll lie to this thing. We're going to tell it don't have turbos on it. Obviously it does. But we lied to it, you know. You definitely don't want to do this and go out on the road and run it, because, you know, you're going to get not enough fuel and too much timing. So, but for just starting up, it was fine. You know, it's running so rich now that it could never hurt itself. So I'm pretty pumped about it. We're gonna, you know, keep trucking here. Hopefully some parts come in and I can get this thing finished up. And, you know, I did get my drive shaft parts in yesterday, so we can build a drive shaft for it now. And I don't know, I'm hopeful that maybe by this weekend we can actually get this thing out on the road. We'll do some videos driving down the road. I hope. I'm not gonna promise anything, because man, this thing has been rough. It's been a battle, man. This thing's fought me a lot. And then, you know, like I said, I was sick, and man, I didn't get much done when I was sick, and that's been 3 weeks. I still have a cough. Obviously, you can see that, and I mean, it's been 3 weeks. It's been kicking my butt. So I wasn't getting a whole lot of work done in that 3 week period. I'll just be honest with you. It kicked my butt. Even when I was at the shop, it's like I still wasn't getting a whole lot done. So anyway, you see where we're at, you know. Hey, also, we've pressurized the fuel system on this thing. I swore we were gonna have leaks everywhere because there's so many fittings, so many connectors. And honestly, you know, like I told you before, it's a budget build, and I bought all my stainless braided PTFE lines on Amazon, and they weren't really tightening down well. So I may have told you this before, but anyway, these fittings right here, where these fittings bolt together and tighten that PTFE line down right there, I had to machine all these fittings down, like, I don't know, I think just maybe 1/8 of an inch or so off each one of them. So I probably have 100 of those fittings I had to do. So I thought for sure, when I put this thing together and I'm gonna cycle the key and I'm gonna build pressure on this fuel system, I thought I was gonna have leaks everywhere. And it didn't. Not one leak. Knock on wood, but not one leak on this car. I couldn't believe it. I thought I'd be chasing fuel leaks for 2 days. But no, everything worked out good. Didn't have any leaks. So we're getting there, you know. Had to make my own spark plug wires for it. We did a builder kit for spark plug wires because of these headers in the way. Those headers are right at the spark plug wires, and they're still even close here. But I went and bought, let me see if I can find these things. I think I set them over here. So we got these boots. Once again, cheap Amazon stuff. I don't know. I've been doing okay with Amazon stuff lately. You know, as long as they don't send me the wrong parts. But the wrong part I got was actually a regular OEM GM part. It wasn't even from Amazon. So I got these boots. You know, they're spark plug boots, the wire boots. I don't know. They're supposed to be able to lay against the headers even and not melt our plug wire. So, you know, hopefully they work. That would be great. But that's where we're at, guys. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I was pretty pumped about this thing when it fired and the way it sounded and stuff, you know. I did a lot of research on this camshaft, and I had a couple I was going to choose from, and I ended up choosing this one because, you know, just the numbers on the cam, to me, worked better than any other cam for what I was doing with it with turbos. You got to watch with turbos, you obviously get a little bit of turbo lag. So you need a cam and an engine combination that makes good torque down low, because you're basically, until you build boost, you're relying on the engine to make all your bottom end power. And then once you start building boost, you know, your turbos take over and you start making power that way. But, you know, too many times guys will build street cars. This is a street car, you know, it's not a drag car. I wouldn't have to do this with a drag car. I'd put a big old healthy cam in it, and I'd come off on the 2-step and come off at $5 grand and go. But on a street, I want to make power down low. That's where I'm going to be at. So, you know, too many times guys will put big old chunky cams in these things, and by the time you get up on the camshaft, you're starting to build boost. So you're dead up until, you know, 2,500 RPMs or so, maybe even more, 33,000, I don't know. So them cars are turds until they get up on the boost, and then all of a sudden they'll blow the tires off. But, you know, I want to be able to do this from a dig. I mean, I want to be able to stop on the road and just hit the gas, and, you know, even just the engine itself will blow the tires off. And then when the cam comes in, or I'm sorry, the turbos come in, then it's really going to start building crazy horsepower. So that was the combination I was shooting for with this setup. And, you know, and I looked at a bunch of different camshafts, a bunch of different truck cams, you know, all different brands. We're not going to say which ones I didn't choose, I looked at, but there was a reason I chose this cam. And I went through the cam numbers, not because everybody likes this cam or everybody hates this cam. I don't play that game. You know, everybody has their own opinion, and that's okay. But just because your buddy did it and he thinks his worked great, you know, if you don't know the cam numbers, you don't know how to read the cam numbers, then you're just going to have to go by what everybody else tells you. And that is usually not the best way. I can tell you that. Like, sit down and do some research on it, and then you got to think of how the engine's working. If you're getting turbo lag and you're not making horsepower down low, then you know, until them turbos start working, you're not making horsepower. So you need to build your engine to work down low, so you got something down there. Like I said, if you're drag racing, doesn't matter. You're gonna come off the line on, you know, on a trans brake, on the two-step. It doesn't matter because you're already up on the camshaft. But if you're doing a street build, that's when things start getting different. You know what I mean? Everything's different. And I've done this for years. You know, you call cam companies and you put this big nasty cam in your car, which technically isn't a street cam. You know, and I'm talking old naturally aspirated big block Chevys, small block Chevys when we used to build those. You know, you put a big nasty cam in your car, and the cam company says, "Oh yeah, we want, you know, 3,500 stall in this." Well, that's great if you're drag racing, but if you take that thing and put a 3,500 stall in it, and you go try to run on the street, daily drive it, it'll be horrible. Transmission will burn up. You'll make all kinds of heat in the converter. You won't make any power until the converter locks up. So you can come off a red light and hit the throttle, and it sounds like the clutch is slipping in the damn thing. So been there, done that. So when you do a street vehicle, you have to kind of take that all into consideration. So what we would do, we would run some big cams in our street cars, probably way too big for street, but they sounded good. So instead of going with a 3,500 stall or a 3,200 stall, I would end up with a 2,500 stall. And a 2,500 stall would still come off the line hard. It would let it lock up at cruising speeds. You know, it wasn't soft and mushy. So that's kind of what gets me into doing my own research now, is because just because the cam company says to run it doesn't mean it's the best. Just because this company says you need this doesn't mean it's the best. You know, I've done enough over the years to know what I like and how I want my stuff to run, and how to make it run that way. You know, you can't just throw parts that everybody says, "Oh, this is best, this is the best, this is the best." Yeah, it's all good, it all works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but to get this stuff to work properly, you need to, everything has to work together. So that's what I shoot for. And that's what we come up with this. I mean, this thing might be a slow turd, I don't know. It's just built the way I think it should be built. And you know, on a budget, tight budget. Like, I didn't put a lot of money in this thing. You know, I mean, I have money in it, obviously. You know, there's a lot of money in fuel system and stuff too, but compared to what most people would spend on something like this, I'm not doing that. You know, I want the average Joe to be able to build this engine, you know, and not have $30,000 in it. You know, I don't know exactly what I have in this. I would have to sit down and kind of look, but ballpark between buying the engine and turbos and fuel system, and, you know, the Terminator X cost me some money. You know, that's like a $2,000 system right there. So I have HP tuners, but I haven't learned it yet, so that's why I went with the Terminator for this one. I will learn HP though eventually, and that'll save me a bunch of money. That'll save me a couple $1,000s. But you know, I would say this whole setup, even with the Terminator X, I bet you I have about $5,000 in this deal, maybe $5,500. You know, $5,500 on everything. I mean, the fuel system, the turbos, that's me buying the engine, that's me rebuilding the engine, that's the intake, you know, that's all the injectors, that's the new camshaft, everything. You know, that's not bad. When you're talking, this thing's going to be 700 horse, you know, or really close. It's actually, you know, I've watched the videos on this exact engine setup being dynoed, and I think it was like 714 or something at 9 psi. At 7 psi, I think it was 680. So that's a lot of horsepower for $5,000. I don't know. It's hard to get that anywhere else. And that's not just the engine. Like I said, that's fuel system and everything. That is me taking this car, bringing it in, pulling everything out of it, and drop $5,000 and everything's back in and ready to go. Fuel system and all. And you know, when you go turbos, you got to have a pretty stout fuel system. So I don't know. I mean, it's not bad. Think about it. It's not a bad way to go. So if it holds up, that'll be great. And I think it will. You know, I'm not abusing this thing daily. You know, it's going to be a daily driver, but it's not going to be like racing every day. If I was going to build a complete full drag race motor, which all I was going to do is, you know, run the piss out of it, then I would probably choose some better rods and a better crank and stuff and better pistons. But really, other than that, that's still not much in there. If you did everything I got on here right now and did a little better crank, a better set of rods, and maybe some better pistons, you're still only going to add maybe a couple grand to this setup. If you can do all the stuff yourself, obviously. You know, I built the engine myself. I do all myself. But you can save yourself some money by doing that. It's not hard to do it yourself. And there's enough stuff online. You can research and figure out everything on these. So, you know, save yourself some money. Do it this way. And like I said, if you're worried about the crank rods and pistons, do it. You'll have about $7,000 and 700 horse. And honestly, if I had the better rods, crank, and pistons in this thing, then I'd turn the boost up. I'd put next size bigger turbos on it. Like this got twin 63s on it. I'd put twin 67s on it if I had a better bottom end, because the block will hold it. And then you'd probably make 1,000 horse out of the damn thing for $7,000. Not a bad deal. So I'm going to start yapping now. I'm going to get back to work, but I know I've been slacking on videos on this car because I feel like the stuff that I'm doing, just this plumbing stuff, to me is not exciting. And I don't know if anybody wants to watch it, because I wouldn't. But so there's the whole rundown of the wagon. This is it. You know, you've heard it run, it fires. All right. You know, I've been pretty pumped about it, but still a bunch of little stuff I have to finish up. So I'm hoping I can get this thing out driving. It'd be great if I could do it by this weekend. So if not, next week for sure we'll have this thing on the road. So anyway, that's it, guys. I'm out. I'm going to get back to work, because obviously I have a lot to do, and I have not been getting as much done as I should have. So I will let you know when we start getting this thing tuned up. We'll get some more video. All right, guys. Later.